Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I Man here from the Block Runner, and we are going to be talking about Star Atlas. Thank you for being here, I Man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right,
S-
man. So this one,
Yeah, this one's a
uh,
doozy. It's a doozy for lots of reasons because we got the traditional space to compare this to, and so I'll explain what I'm talking about in a little bit. But yeah, we wanted to talk about what's going on with the metaverse, and we're under the belief that there's going to be a ton of metaverses, and it's turning out to be that way, and for good reason, right? There's going to be a lot of different use cases, and there's going to be a lot of different applications that you can apply the metaverse to. And in the case of Star Atlas, we have an open world space exploration game. And there's a traditional game counterpart to it that looks kind of similar, at least has similar ideologies. And we're going to show you that game and then kind of talk about the implications of what those guys are building compared to what Star Atlas is building in the potential. So yeah, let me just kind of jump into this article that I was reading. It is on navic.co. They have a good explanation of Star Atlas here,
mhm.
and so yeah, ultimately it's one of those open world metaverse games where you essentially go as a crew to explore territories, collect assets, and sell those assets to other people who need those assets, right? It's a huge marketplace type game. We've seen some of those exist like in the past in the traditional space, and and if you apply the blockchain aspect to it, then there's like huge implications. Like you're talking about real assets now. So and that's sort of why we're talking about it because now with NFTs, you can you can see people spending like their hard earned time, right, and money into things like this and spending only their time in games like this. So I mean you have a lot of experience kind of doing that yourself in the traditional space. So far, like what are your initial knee jerk reactions on this Star Atlas?
uh, just off of what I've seen, it's the scope and the vision and like I don't know. It seems very grand, which
Mm-hmm.
I like. I think everybody does, and they have a lot of material to back that vision and that grandness, right? In their marketing. Which, like, if you watch the trailer,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that alone is probably what sold the majority of people who ended up buying these assets. And we haven't really talked about what the assets are. There's actual spaceships, right? Like these are
Mm-hmm.
the. It's not like your typical metaverse asset offering, right? Usually you're purchasing land
Yeah.
in a metaverse experience, but for this, that's why I'm struggling to categorize these projects as metaverses, just like the last one we covered, Blocktopia. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm always gonna struggle with that because everybody likes to run away with this terminology just because it's a huge buzzword these days. The metaverse, the metaverse, the metaverse. But what it is actually the metaverse is still to be, you know,
Defined.
determined.
Yeah.
So to me, this is more like a game verse,
Yeah.
and that could be a component of the overall metaverse of the future. So, but nobody really, it's not as exciting and sexy as like metaverse, right? But the point is, these spaceships is what they're selling.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the trailer was awesome. So I
Yeah.
think the majority of people who ended up buying these ships were sold by that trailer, right? If when I first saw that thumbnail image, I literally thought it was the second Avatar movie.
Yeah.
Like
Same.
straight up, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, James Cameron,
Yeah.
that's his name, right? Like
Yeah.
he
Cameron.
finally delivered, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it wasn't, dude. It was a fucking crypto project, like which is like when I saw that, it's like we haven't seen that scale of
Like
like
fidelity, art.
yeah, artistry,
Yeah.
marketing, media, whatever you want to call it, right? So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like we got a big player here, you know?
Yeah, and they ended up selling these ships, and I think total they ended up selling around $20 million worth of NFTs,
Yeah.
and they have a wide spectrum of options, right? Anywhere from $15 for a small ship, all the way to a capital ship, and then the commander ship from 80 grand to $100,000 USDC, and
So as these ships get more expensive, they get bigger and bigger, right? Like,
yeah, bigger crews. I guess I there's still a lot in development for this particular game, but it seems to me that the bigger the ship you have, the more crew members that you can travel with, and then explore and sort of like, I guess, protect your assets in the sense, because when you go explore, you're going to be collecting materials that you can refine and sell in the marketplace, and that's how you accumulate their tokens, right? And so they have two of them. So they have one called Atlas, which is an in-game token. It's a Solana token that you earn in-game, and then you have the counterpart for a governance token, which is capped at 21 million. So
Well, that's the circulating supply. It says the max supply is
oh,
360 million.
sorry, yeah, sorry. The max supply was 360 million. So, but the other one, max supply is 36 billion, and I think they can inflate the token as well. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Essentially, it's infinite, right? Like
yeah,
there's no limit to how many Atlas tokens can exist, and
right,
this is a an already tested tokenomics scheme, right? This is basically what Axie's Infinity's SLP and AXS tokens like. It's
right,
very similar in structure, and they admit that, and it's understandable. Like a lot of projects are going to emulate this token economy
for sure.
because it worked so well for Axie. Why the hell wouldn't you?
Yeah,
So it's, but you're right. Like the whole incentive to purchase these assets is like, okay, we've created this token economy. Like it's here. It's live, but you have to participate in the inevitable gameplay using these assets in order to like get your share of that, right?
yeah.
Just like you do in Axie, you got to buy and breed your Axies, and you got to battle with them in order to earn your share of that, that token economy. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very cyclical, right? Like these things happen over and over again.
Yeah, and they have a huge economy in the sense of like the design, because they're even talking about land taxes. So as you play the game, you're going to be you're accruing this tax burden that you're going to have to end up paying at some point.
Oh
So
wow.
so yeah, I'm assuming this tax burden goes back to like the foundation, and like it's used for like the community and stuff. So
Yeah.
that makes the most sense. But yeah, they ended up raising almost $21 million on NFT sales, which is a concept that you and I have been talking about for a while, where we believe there's a solid case for NFT sales to raise funds to pay for game development, and they've successfully done so. And for the most part, they were able to accomplish this really good looking trailer, and I think they have two of them. Right, there's one like a teaser trailer, and then in a longer form. And like I said, like you were saying, it looks like Avatar. Um, and so we're going to show you in a little bit, sort of like a traditional type of game that has very similar look and feel to what we're anticipating Star Atlas to turn out to be.
Yeah.
But
I
that
think right
game,
now in its current stage, like they have, and it goes through this in this article. Like right now, when you click play now or something, it takes you to a marketplace, and there's like a 2D web. Like there's some kind of activity you can leverage your assets in.
yeah,
It's not necessarily a game yet, but it's something, right? It's something in the meantime as they're getting ready to release their initial product, which I think they claim is going to be an actual open 3D world, right?
yeah,
So that's pretty. It's here we are again, dude. It feels like Decentraland all over again. You know what I mean? They raised a very similar amount of money, like
yeah,
20 million plus.
yeah,
They have this big community, just like Decentraland did
yeah,
in the beginning, but it's largely speculative at this moment. Like we don't really know what that this 3D open virtual world is going to be like, right? So
yeah. With 58,000 people in their Discord, you're exactly right. Decentraland was exactly in the same like footsteps, in 2017, and
yeah,
it's happening all over again. So, this is just to say that it's extremely difficult to make a metaverse game, and we have evidence of it. Right? There's tons of metaverses in the blockchain. I wouldn't say struggling. It's just difficult to actually have retention in these metaverses,
mm.
and then have like an economy where people are earning a significant amount of money, because
Yeah,
we feel like that's going to be the main staying power of metaverses, is that people are coming to the metaverse to earn. And if that's not happening, then there's no reason for anyone to spend any time in the metaverse. So
Yeah. And this is interesting too, because it's like Decentraland took more of like a community contribution approach, in the sense like it's really if you read Decentraland's white paper, it's up to the community to really, I guess, take the platform and the ecosystem to the next level, figure out what that, that economy looks like. It's just like Decentraland's role. It was to just lay the foundation of the platform and, give us the tools, which are the assets to get things going.
yeah.
And in Star Atlas's case, I think it's going to be pretty much on the shoulders of the whole dev team, right? Like, I don't see anything about like open creator economy, right?
There's
no
SDK.
contributions happening here.
Agreed. Yeah, that's a tall burden. That's a big burden for the development team, because they essentially have to figure out all the content that you're supposed to be doing in the game. They got to figure it out, and they have to create the whole economy. And but what they are doing pretty well is they're being pretty open, I guess, with what they're trying to build. I haven't seen any like alpha testers out there or anything or any YouTuber talking about it. But what they do have is, if you go to the website and you scroll down through this long website explaining the game, you get all the way to a marketplace. And in this marketplace, and over here in this homepage, you see like an example of what the actual
Avatar
trailer
2 looks like.
Yeah, right.
They just like stole James Cameron's like freaking secret footage for the next movie. Dude.
Yeah, right.
This is
so you'll go to the marketplace and you see the different assets that they have available. But what's interesting is, we spent a lot of time in the NFT space in the Ethereum world, and there's a bunch of PFP projects taking off, and their floor price is like 4 ETH or anything like that. And you see like a lot of these assets here, or the original price of this ship was $29,000, almost 30 grand. And then if you go and purchase it, the cheapest now, like in the secondhand sales, is around 40 grand. So about 33% increase. And
which, I mean, it might sound like a lot of money, but from like a NFT market perspective, like this project, and I think these assets have only been live for maybe like a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
But they really haven't done much, like as far as like, euphoric uprise. There's no mania happening for Star Atlas ships.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's why it's very important for us to be talking about this project, because it's in a pretty solid position to like do some deep investigation of, like, investigate the team. I think they have weekly town hall meetings. We haven't attended any yet, but I think we're definitely going to now.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, we're about to showcase this other project that feels very similar in scope.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's hilarious about it is like how long it actually took to develop, right? So if this is going to compete with Axie, like, and they're going to live up to the scope and scale of what they're proclaiming on their white paper,
sure.
like, it could be another like 10-year development roadmap cycle, they got to go through in order to get to that point,
Yeah. And it all depends on what they're wanting to do for the 3D space, because if it ends up being like some 2D game where it's more of like a marketplace simulator than it is like a 3D world exploration game, then you're looking at different timelines in terms of development.
Sure.
But to your point, if you go and look at the market caps for both of the tokens, they're around 200 million, both of them. And then you compare that to what Axie's doing, which they're worth around 4 billion, right? Something
seven
like that?
last I checked, 7 billion.
Okay. So then there's a huge upside for something like this. And if you look at their charts, I mean, it's pretty favorable if you're in the speculative side of the spectrum here for cryptocurrencies. So, but always keep doing your research, keep looking into the team and the community as well. But I wanted to show you what looked like a similar type of game, a similar sort of premise. And this game is called Star Citizen instead of Star Atlas. And Star Citizen is pretty famous for being in development for like 10 years. They raised an initial funding from the community at $350 million. I think up to now they've raised over $1 billion. And then look at the fidelity of the game. I'm going to mute it just so we don't get any copyright strikes or anything. But look at this. This is essentially sort of like an open world exploration game where you jump into a ship and you kind of like take off and you explore the world and then go into space and like do essentially dogfights and collect assets. And this is like an extremely deep game. It's unbelievably deep. If you look at this here, this is an 85-minute presentation from the devs to the community, and this was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so like what they're building here is so huge, so grand. It's like the perfect game. If you're like a gamer, this is the game that you'd want. You'd always hope would be created, and like
Yeah.
and it's here.
And
But
but you said something that when you first showed me this trailer or this showcase footage is like, imagine this ship this guy just walked into. This is an NFT,
yeah,
and you're in a virtual world where it's filled with resources and assets that can, net you some real value, because
right,
there's a real economy. People want these assets because the game designers did such a good job at creating this virtual world that
right.
enough people are participating in it that there's exploits to be had, and that's what got the FOMO going for this Star
Yeah,
Atlas project. Like, but then you talking about these guys got $1 billion in funding. It took them 10 years to do this. Like, and it's like, fuck.
yeah,
Like, what are the chances they can actually execute on something of this scale, right? Like, I mean, right now it just seems like a big fairy tale dream, but
for sure.
who knows? Like, yeah.
What I was gonna say was, I made this. We were watching this video before we started recording, and we're like, this guy just landed his ship. Imagine the ship was like, 100 grand, and then you crashed it, and like you had to go and spend actual crypto to go and repair it. Like these are like the things that run in my mind when it comes into like these asset based games in blockchain space. Now that you have like things at stake, right? When you're going out and exploring, and somebody can just like take you down and like take your stuff. I mean, obviously there's rules to the game, and not necessarily that's possible, but what's interesting is that technically it is possible. So so yeah, I mean, this is like a vastly potentially different game than Star Atlas, but as you can see, this game, as cool as it looks, has taken over 10 years to develop. And like I said, it's huge in the sense that the stuff that you can do and travel to.
Yeah. So I guess the main takeaway, or like Star Atlas has what I think is pretty much all the necessary components to like creating a closed loop ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like solid assets already out the gate. They have a great premise. What else? It's just wait and see, I guess, to see if they can actually deliver on what it is they're claiming to want to build.
Yeah.
And if they get to that point, I mean, we witnessed the beginning of Axie Infinity. It was kind of like the same thing for Axie Infinity in the beginning. Like, people were speculating whether or not this game could gain any traction. In the very beginning, there wasn't even like much of a token economy, because it was just SLPs, and like people didn't really see the value in SLPs at the time. Yeah, you could breed with it, but not enough people really wanted Axie. So like, what's the point to play, right? I think in the beginning, Axie Infinity had to really over incentivize their community to battle. Like, they had actual cash tournaments and stuff like that going on, like, real money prizes, because not enough people really understood the value of play to earn economics at the time. Right, because it was so new. So I feel it feels very eerily similar with this project. Like, there's so many question marks, so many uncertainties, but the potential is like astronomical.
It is absolutely. I mean, and imagine they're in their latest Galaxy asset offering, right? They were selling ships for like 100 grand, and I think they still have more style of ships, right? Called a Titan ship. So if these are worth 100 grand, what is this? 500 grand, maybe $1 million for someone who purchases this and like hosts a bunch of other activities in this metaverse. Like, it's very possible. So I mean, think about if you had to land this ship, dude, on Earth, and you crash it. It's pretty. That'd be pretty devastating.
Well, that's when DeFi insurance protocols step in. You know, like you better have that Titan ship insured, dude. You better have a fucking policy on that bitch, or
Yeah,
any
policy.
little nick, like that's a huge ding to
Yeah,
your net
dude.
worth, you know.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So
But that's hopefully that's the future of the metaverse, right? Where it does
yeah,
become that robust. The economy is that robust where you do have to have your assets insured. You do have to have,
yeah,
meta repair facilities for your assets.
right, right, right.
Like in case you do ding it and you need to like purchase more resources off of the open secondary market to,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Repair.
reconstruct things,
Yeah,
it just gets crazy, right?
yeah,
Like, and that's the real metaverse, right? So
yeah. Hopefully we
hopefully
get
we're
there.
getting there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully this is it. And if it is, and it's huge potential for this number go up, everybody's happy, right?
totally.
So yeah, so we've been talking about Star Atlas and kind of giving you guys a breakdown as to another metaverse that's kind of spawning up here, and we got some eyes on it, and we're definitely going to participate a little bit more just to understand everything that's going on. But if you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter @TheBlockRunner, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.